Hello, everyone. Welcome Midweek Live. So glad you guys have joined us today. I've got Lynn and Gary Cheek with me. Over the last couple of weeks, we've actually been talking to our marriage leadership team, and you guys are a part of that. And we heard from Sally and Dave. We've heard from Felicia and Dwayne. And you guys went through this Reengage, just a new marriage study, about a year ago. The three of those couples went through it together.
Mm-hmm. And some others in our small group.
And some others, yeah. And then you guys were part of the leadership as this new group of people, as we kind of invited our church family to now begin this journey. And you guys helped to lead, I don't know, it was something like 16, I don't remember how many couples, a lot of couples, quite a bit.
In our group, there was 10 of us.
There was 10.
Yeah.
That's great.
So there's about pushing 30.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. And so one of the things so I got to be there when you guys were kind of wrapping things up and kind of looking back on the 16 weeks. And so one of the things I heard was that there's testimonies that happens, right, throughout these 16 weeks you guys share. And these three couples, you as well as the other two that shared your testimonies.
We did.
I didn't get a chance to hear that, but you guys actually shared your testimony with me this morning, so I got a chance to read that, and that was really cool. And so really what I would love to do with you guys today is talk about your marriage, talk about the early years, talk about raising kids, which you've done. You now have both kids married.
Yes.
You have a
we have a grandbaby.
Granddaughter. Yes.
June.
Yes. Like literally like a month now?
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
March 18th.
March 18th. Yeah. I love it. And so we'll talk a little bit about that as well. And one of the things I didn't know in reading your story was that both of you were involved in Hume at one point early on, before you were married, that both of you were involved with Hume Christian Camps, which is really cool because our church, that is a big part of the stuff that we do here with our junior hires and our high schoolers and even our wagon train, our elementary school kids. So really, really cool. And so how long have you guys been coming to NorthPointe? I don't even think I asked you that yet.
So 19 years.
Oh, wow.
19 years, yeah.
Wow, that's great. Yeah. So wait, so your oldest is how old right now?
Evie is 27.
Okay, so she was about 8 then, 9?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you guys started coming?
Math.
It's too early. I'm taking a best guess at it, and it's probably wrong. But
they drew us to NorthPointe.
Oh, really?
Right. Yeah. We had a house fire.
Really?
And so
a friend of the family said, "Can we take your kids so you can work things out?"
Well, to VBS.
Right.
Yeah.
VBS. And so our neighbor, Carrie and Scott Swobe, said, "Hey, let's take Evie and Aaron to VBS while you guys clean up your pile of burnt ashes stuff."
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
And inventory everything.
Yes.
And so the kids came home the first night from VBS and said, "Mom, Dad, all of our school friends are there. Can we go to that church?"
Yeah.
So
Such a good time.
Yeah.
To really connect. And we'd been attending a different church, and it was a good church here in town, but they didn't have the connection of friends that they were going to school with and playing sports with and such.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that really made all the difference, huh?
when your kids ask, "Can we go to church?"
Yeah.
You take them to church.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Yeah. So how long have you guys been married now?
32 years.
Yep.
30,
33rd.
yeah.
Wait, you guys got married in June, so you just had an anniversary.
We did.
June 3rd.
June 3rd.
June 3rd.
Mhm.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so did you guys grow up in church?
I did. I grew up in church. I accepted Jesus when I was sitting in a very small chair.
Okay.
I don't remember much more than that, but
Okay.
as much as I could understand at that time.
Okay.
My family's always gone to a good church. My grandparents went to the same church. I experienced a lot of things that our kids did here. And so that was what formed me early on. And,
Yeah.
and my parents, that was a priority for us.
Sunday and the same types of things we're talking about, Summer Extreme or VBS back
Yeah.
when
My
they
best
called it
friends
that.
were friends from church. And
That's great. What
I
about
did
you,
not
Lynn?
as early on as Gary did.
Yeah.
I started probably in my later elementary years. My dad was very ill in the hospital and given a few weeks to live, and so he was watching a TV evangelist on TV and came to Christ. And then when he got out of the hospital, we all went to church.
Yeah.
And so that was the beginning for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he survived that.
He survived heart failure.
Wow.
Due to years and years of alcohol abuse. Ended up having a heart transplant.
Wow.
And then later on a kidney transplant. So
Wow.
he lived an extra 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Beyond
That's amazing.
the expectation.
Yeah.
So those years were growing years for me. I didn't own my own faith, though, until I went away to college.
Okay.
Yeah. I got messed up with a boyfriend during junior high school years, seven years of a relationship, but didn't really own it until I went away to college. Yeah.
Meaning that you went through the motions.
I did.
Yeah. Like you went to church, you
I went
attended,
Sunday,
you knew it was
yeah.
right, you knew the whole right, you knew
Yeah.
it. Boyfriend was also in church?
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so that breakup was the thing that kind of pushed you to understand the Lord more, or what kind of
Well,
helped you
I
to
kind of
develop that?
spiraled out of control for a while. And that's when my dad actually really walked me through that journey of becoming my own person.
Yeah.
I got 2 jobs and I worked like crazy during that summer. And then I just dove into all things, at Fresno State, where I was going to school in the teaching department. And I just kind of transitioned into Fresno State activities. I got involved in campus ministry.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's really where it began for myself.
Yeah. So where did the two of you meet?
Well, that's up for debate. We were actually
That's a pretty
we were
I love
actually at several cross country meets in high school at the same time,
Oh,
so
really?
we may have bumped into each other.
Okay.
But we don't remember meeting each
Right.
other then.
Yeah.
I saw Lynn from across the dorm lawn area as she's walking into the dining hall with some friends, and she just looked like she was a lot of fun, and she was beautiful. How could I not notice her? And I was like Charlie Brown noticing that little redhead girl from across the way. And
Everything stops.
yes,
It's the whole slow motion.
Yeah. And somehow I got to know, I think I somehow figured out what her name was, and realized we had some friends that knew each other in common. My roommate knew her roommates.
Okay.
And little by little, figured out who Lynn was. But then she went away to school.
Okay.
I went away at a different school. I went to London semester.
I studied abroad for
Really?
a semester. And when I came back, we ended up meeting at a campus ministry dance.
Okay.
It was like a Christmas party.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
that's where I met him.
She wanted nothing to do with me.
But
then.
for you, that's where you met. That's where you met.
That's right.
But
So
you were. You said she wanted
it
nothing
kept-
to do with
it
me.
took some work after that. So then we meet each other, and I just happened to end up in some of the same classes.
He
as
showed
she.
up. He was in all of my classes.
Oh,
I'm
my.
like, how is this possible?
Yeah, I figured out what classes she was taking, so
There
I'd
you
sign up
go.
in advance for those.
I
There
think you
you
ended up
go.
calling my roommate and
Yeah,
asked,
Yeah, Lori spilled the beans and helped me out
which
there.
classes is Lynn signing up for?
That's great.
And then
You
he
did your
walked me
homework.
home every day after class. Yeah.
That's great.
And so we became very good friends. So
Really?
that was the healthy way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just really good friends, best friends.
Yeah. And where was your relationship with the Lord at that point in time? Do you?
It was
feel?
pretty strong.
Yeah.
I felt, I was digging into scripture. I was memorizing. I was in studies. I was pretty focused.
Yeah. Yeah. So you popped the question. How long have you been dating when you popped the question?
A year.
A year.
Just
Okay.
a year.
We'd known
Okay.
each other for about a year and a half. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that was on a ski lift.
Yeah.
On a family ski trip, and my roommate knew that it was coming. Well, you can tell.
We were on the
describe
chair,
it.
and he took out the ring, and he had a black string tied to this end, and then in his pocket.
Oh,
Had a thread.
okay.
So
That's
he
great.
wouldn't drop
Just in
it.
case.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I said yes. I was super excited.
Lynn's one of her favorite places in the world is on a ski lift. And
Okay.
Yeah.
on the way down after the ski lift, I usually just follow her and help to make it to the bottom safely.
I
That
love
was a
it.
fun proposal.
That's great. Okay, so tell me, first couple years of marriage, great, easy?
Hard.
Very
Super
hard.
hard.
Yeah. How do you describe those first couple years? What were the struggles?
Well, he moved into my apartment for
Oh.
one.
Okay.
So I was doing things a certain way, and I'm very headstrong, stubborn, and Gary had his way of doing things. So I think the big thing for us was just learning how to communicate, which I didn't know how to communicate growing up. In my home, it was a lot of yelling, slam doors, ignore each other. So that's basically what I did. I would yell.
I didn't come from the perfect family. We yelled and blew off some steam, but I think we probably let that steam loose a little more frequently, so it didn't become big issues.
Yeah.
But I bottled, and I bottled it, suppressed it, and then I would explode, and then I would give the silent treatment for days. Yeah.
Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah.
Very tough.
And
Several years.
how'd you handle silent treatment?
It was kind of baffling to me because, everybody has experienced that to an extent, but, going for days, that would be tough.
Yeah.
And then also I realized that some of Lynn's relationships would be controlled by that. She would be afraid to address certain things or to have a difference of opinion for fear of that happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would avoid then?
Totally avoid. I hated confrontation. Yeah.
Because you felt like it led to arguments or yelling, and that you're trying to avoid that? Yeah.
I just always thought there was only one way.
One way. And that one way was yelling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you a yeller?
I was both. I was the silent treatment.
Okay.
And if I felt so passionate about something or very offended by something, I would yell.
Yeah. When do you guys feel like you hit a good stride in your marriage? Because it does happen at some point over the long haul, right?
It took 5 years. We're thinking it's about 5 years of being vulnerable, going to counseling, lots of counseling, marriage conferences, lots of books on the shelf about family dynamics and
whose idea was counseling?
It was really Gary's. I drug my feet.
Yeah. How did you feel about counseling?
Well, I was told that by my dad, actually, that if we needed counseling, then we shouldn't be getting married. So I just kind of thought that counseling was a bad thing.
Or that we'd failed.
That we failed at it. But because we were bickering so much and just couldn't come to a common ground, and when Gary proposed it, I thought, let's do it. Yeah, something different needs to happen.
And did you notice a difference right away? Was it helpful?
Yeah, because we first had to bring to light, our different upbringings and understand that. And that's a lot of what Re-engages addresses too.
Yeah, is the past.
The first few chapters.
The first few chapters, are
about our childhood, how we were raised.
Yeah, because that's what you bring to the table,
We
right?
do.
And so you kind of go back to the original form of communication.
Absolutely.
Whether we want to or not. It's totally not an intentional thing. It's just how we're kind of wired up.
That counseling took other forms too. It was seeking to be honest with friends about what we were going through. Friends who seemed to be not having quite as much trouble. Although everybody goes through those adjustments early on, but it was mentors, it was friends, it was counseling that was official counseling. We had to put some money out there to do that.
Yeah, there was
and
an
commit to
investment.
that.
Some skin in the game.
Yep.
Yeah. And when did you have your first child? When did you have Evie?
5 years.
Okay, so right at that 5-year mark.
Yeah.
So you're going through this, and it's just the two of you. I think you mentioned earlier, we were talking before, you had dogs, though, during this time.
Oh, yeah.
Dogs were some of the best training we had before having kids.
We rescued quite a few dogs.
Yeah. We've had 7 dogs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And all of them except this last one were pound puppies, or they were left off at the school where we worked, and we brought them home in a shoebox.
Yeah. That's great.
Good training for patience.
Yes, absolutely. So, so you guys do counseling. Was there talk of divorce at any?
I brought it
those
up one
first-
time,
okay.
only one time, and that was a couple years into it. And just like I said earlier, just a constant bickering. We were driving, and I just thought, okay, I'm done with this. So we pull up to a stop sign. I get out. I walk home. He gets home, and I said, Gary, I don't think we can do this anymore. I think we need to consider divorce. And his response was not what I expected. said, no, we don't say that word, and we're not going to do that. So let's go get counseling. So, yeah.
Best decision we made.
Yeah. But you had to be willing too, though. I mean, he's suggesting it, right? But you have to be willing to do it, and then both of you putting in the effort. Because with counseling, they always, you're going to dig in. You have to be willing to talk about things that are maybe uncomfortable or upsetting.
There's two sides to that that coin. You know, we both had things we need to work through.
Right. Yeah. And several of you guys have mentioned this early on in this Re-engage series, right? It talks about creating a circle around
Absolutely.
Around you, right?
Yeah.
And that you're supposed to work on everything inside that circle, which basically means you're supposed to be working on
me.
on
I can't fix Lynn. She can't fix me. But if we are working with God to work out those areas that we need to, those rough edges, perspectives that we have that are out of whack, then that's going to make our marriage better.
I think it's human beings. We find ourselves doing that a lot with things that we're uncomfortable with. We see all the faults and difficulties in the people around us. Generally speaking,
it's easier to do
than to actually take a hard look at yourself and see what your part is and what part you play in the whole thing. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about kids. You guys both had mentors at some moments in your life before you were married.
Yep.
Ones that people that poured into you, spoke into you, walked difficult times with you.
Challenged us.
Yeah.
Mine was in college, a gal named Jean, and she helped me get through the breakup and get myself back on track. Yeah. And she actually taught me how to be a friend.
Okay.
Because I didn't really have friends in junior high and high school. I was just with my boyfriend constantly. Yeah. We both were in sports together, church together. We did everything together. Yeah. And I didn't really know how to be a friend, to have a girlfriend. Yeah. So she really showed, she acted it, she was it. Yeah. Yeah. She poured into me.
How did that change when you guys got married? Did you guys still have mentors as you guys?
Jean was still actually a part of Lynn's life, our life actually. We spent some time with them after we got married. So it's nice that some of those carried over.
Yeah, for sure.
And some of mine carried over too. Yeah. But then we started developing mentors that were, or finding those who, they were mentors to both of us. I think we talked earlier about the Harrises.
Yes, at our previous church.
And one of the things they talked about was when you're going through a hard time, they described the metaphor of a passport. You don't give your passport away and confide in someone of the same sex when you're going through, or a coworker who that could lead down a whole new path of problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
That same topic is addressed in Re-engage, which they call close the doors. So you close the doors to divorce. You close the doors to workaholic, working too much.
So. I attended a wedding once where the pastor was married said to don't build fire escapes, is what he actually said. Don't build fire escapes. You're in this together. And that one really stood out to me too. You over time, it does feel like there's a card you can play. In the difficulties, right? There's
got to put that in the discard pile. And that's really when we started feeling at ease with each other. And we knew neither of us were going to give up on each other. We weren't going to abandon each other. Then no matter what struggles we went through, whether it's a big argument, a big perspective, difference of perspective, we knew we'd work through it eventually. And that really put our marriage at ease.
How did you encourage that in your kids as they were growing up? I think it's so important. We talked about this before we got started, that we recognize that our voices are very common. Our kids hear our voices all the time and our correction all the time, good and bad. Right, exactly. That we kind of become a noise at some point in time. And so, really encouraging. How did you encourage your kids to have people around them, or was there people that just kind of did that on their own?
It just happened so well because they wanted to come, which was helpful. Right. And so then they got plugged into Kids Core. Yeah. And through Kids Core, they were mentored by their leaders. Yeah. So Rick and Maria Payne poured into Aaron. Emily Williams poured into Evie,
Mhm.
junior high and high school years, helped her through some tough stuff.
Yeah.
And others.
And
Yeah.
others. And then Kyle Williams stepped in and helped Aaron through junior high, high school years.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we were just so thankful for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And some of those mountaintop experiences people talk about, that can be kind of a disparaged thing. If you go away to Hume Lake for a week, that's not real life. But whether it's Hume Lake or it's houseboats, whether it's Joshua, for a year living in a bubble, whatever
Right.
it might be,
Yeah.
that gives you a chance to push all the other things aside for a week or for a time and be challenged. And people in those environments made a real difference in our life, and so we really encourage that in their life too.
Yeah.
We had a tough boss, both of us, up at Hume, who challenged us in certain ways, and there are certain things that, no, this is going to happen, and
Yeah.
we kind of bucked that, and
Yeah.
but that was good for us. And
Yeah.
Aaron had an employer working for houseboats who really challenged him, and he came home a different young man every whether it's that week and then later as an employee.
Yeah. Were there ever subject matters off limits with your kids?
No.
Not between us and them.
And did you ever feel like you had to? Did you say that, or was that just an unspoken rule, or were you very clear that there's nothing you can not share?
I think what it was for us was we just chose to not freak out when they would share something that happened at school or something that happened on the team, sports team.
We took the best from our family upbringing too. My parents would, when we were going through financial issues, or my dad with a job or whatever it might have been, that was something we were open about. So it wasn't like some things were parent conversations, something where kids, we were careful not to scare the kids, but nothing was off limits. And so some of that was they picked up, and like Eddie used to say, more is caught than taught.
Yeah.
But then also very overtly, I know that there were times with Aaron that I made sure he understood there was nothing that he couldn't bring to me, whether it was a bad choice he made out with friends one night or whatever it might be, and showing grace so that he knew he could trust having a conversation with Dad. And that was probably the best tool as a dad that I had.
Did your dad give you grace, or was that something he did?
He did. There's my dad had high expectations, but he would also when he would apologize if we messed up, that was big.
Yeah. So humbleness as a parent. I don't know how many parents are willing to say they're sorry.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to do as a parent. It means
we asked our kids for forgiveness when we messed up.
That's great. Yeah.
His parents are celebrating 59 years today.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, 59
That's
years.
amazing. That's beautiful.
Pretty cool.
Very, very cool. So let's talk about how the difficult times in your marriage help to build where you're at now. Are those things you have in mind as you're going through your marriage? Is it like, hey, no, we don't want to venture that place again. We've been there. We know where that leads. Or is it past is past? We're just gonna leave it back there. How does the past play a role in your marriage now?
We reflect on things that we learned, those benchmarks, those stakes in the ground. That was tough, and here's what we learned through it. And we talk about those things. We don't have to bury anything, even the worst of it.
Yeah.
But looking at how God brought us through it, or how those times that we did depend on, seeking Jesus and finding our wisdom there rather than People Magazine or
or other sources, because
right.
there's a lot.
Right. There's your peers who
Yeah. Have you had marriages around you guys that didn't survive?
We've had quite a few.
Really?
That is really, when Kevin said, hey guys, I've got a marriage study I'd like you guys to consider. Like, part of me was like, okay, we've been through a few of these. But also each time we start fresh, whether it's a marriage study or something else, that it always ends up well.
Yeah.
So, a big part of us considering this, and the reason why we stuck with it, was we've seen good friends who've had struggles and came out the wrong end of marriage, and that was heartbreaking to us, and that was really a struggle for us. Yeah, we walked through a few of those.
Yeah. I just think too that even though we didn't have any major events happen in our marriage, we just both really wanted to make it even better. You know what I'm
Was there any chronic issues, chronic problems, things that would come up pretty regularly?
So Gary deals with chronic pain.
Okay.
Not
Something he
acute,
doesn't want to be identified
knock
by.
me down stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just this long lasting and wearing. And
And so is there like a habit or something you would continue every time you feel this pain? Is there a way you would respond to it that was positive or negative?
How I see it over the years has been he tends to withdraw.
Yeah.
Because he's in so much pain from his migraines, and so he would often retreat for hours at a time.
There's some things that are frustrating, family or friends would be, hey, let's go do this thing. And a lot of them are things I used to be able to do.
Yeah.
And then I feel kind of like I'm not able to participate in that. So that's an issue. Yeah. I'm not a runner anymore, and my brain and my body still think I'm a runner. And that was my best kind of physical release for that kind of thing. And and migraines.
But dealing with so much pain, I think he would often fall into, some depression.
Yeah, sadness.
Not quite all the way depressed, but I get blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a dance. We talked about this, right? You do a role, you play a role. There's a move you make, right? Maybe it's you're not as engaging or having a conversation, not as present. And then you do something, it's the same type of whatever it is. I don't know. Maybe you just accept it, and you're kind of like, okay, well, we're just gonna.
I've gotten a lot better at understanding the pain, and so I know when to give him his time, and I just keep moving forward. It was more difficult during the child raising years because things had to move forward quickly, and there was kids had to be in different places at different times, and I was still working full time.
Hard not to be resentful, maybe that it's kind of all on you at those moments, right?
Absolutely. Lynn picked up a lot of the slack. She still does from time to time.
And so how do you guys deal with those things now? Is there a difference in the way you guys view this? Is there more understanding there, or is it that there's more leaning in when you're feeling this way instead of pulling away and doing the normal thing? You kind of maybe lean in a little more, maybe share more of what you're experiencing with Lynn?
I try to communicate more about it, but without whining about it. And Lynn understands sometimes what that means I need from her, and she's just so willing to do that. We look out for each other in the ways that we both have issues, and so communication is huge. And I was just, is that a good time to discuss that? So here's the topics that Reengage helped us with.
Okay, let's hear it.
So halfway through the study, 16-week study. So halfway through is what really started speaking to us was communication, how to deal with communication and conflict, expectations. Expectations was huge for me. And the main idea for expectations is that, we have many expectations of our spouse in our marriage. And if they're unmet and handled incorrectly, it'll lead to disappointment and anger. And so I would have to choose to not get angry or feel disappointed. And it says also that we need to be able to articulate and deal with unmet expectations and realize that God is our only true hope. So I think after going through this, especially 2 times, we've learned how to communicate clearly and listen, and then also to make our expectations clear.
I mean, I think that's pretty. When I think of my own marriage, the times that you're able to articulate, it says articulate, like be able to put into words how you are feeling, which is kind of so elementary, right, at the base of it. But it's kind of strange how as adults we don't naturally do that sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? We go into a protective mode
Yeah.
or into a you know, you kind of clam up and just become, you know, I'm just safer here, you know, feeling this myself, and I don't need to share it, you know, with you because I'm upset or I'm, you know, I'm just not feeling like it.
And sometimes when it escalates, we've learned through Reengage that it's okay that we can take a break and we can trust each other that we'll revisit it later and we'll come back and we'll address the issue. So if Lynn says, I need a break right now from this, let's come back to it later, I know that she's not going to blow me off.
Right.
And that later we can talk about that.
Right.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
I tend to use that a lot because my past is suppress, let it build,
Right.
and then explode.
Yeah.
But I think that just simply communicating,
Yeah.
okay, I need a little break here.
Yep.
It's getting too frustrating. I'm too angry right now.
Right.
So let's just take a break.
Right.
But we'll either agree to discuss it tonight or tomorrow.
Right.
And we do.
Yeah.
We always come back to it.
Yeah. I
but
feel
we
like that's the
agree.
game changer, though, and you do.
We do.
Because it's not used as an excuse to just get out of it in the
Right,
moment.
right.
You know, it's not get out of jail for free and
Exactly.
you know, come back. You know,
Yeah.
because you get burned, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if the thing is you're able to pull that card and then it's not, you don't come back to it. Then you've just learned a new way, right? A new
Right,
wrong
a
way.
new escape hatch.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, if we were to if you guys were rewriting your vows right now, after all these years, how would they sound? Would they sound different than they did when you originally said them?
Well, I think our original vows were good vows.
Yeah. And they were the traditional vows.
Traditional vows to love and respect.
Honor and
Yeah.
till death do us part.
So I wouldn't delete those.
Yeah.
Maybe just add on that I choose every day to work towards oneness. And
Yeah.
I choose to walk with Christ first and oneness with each other.
In Reengage, they one of the chapters they talk about the goal of communication is mutual understanding. It's not to win, which obviously it's not to win.
Yeah.
Even though that's our first inclination.
Yeah, it is.
No, I'm going to win this one.
There's a winner.
I
or
lost the
there's a
last
winner
two.
and
I'm going to
loser.
win this
Exactly.
one.
Yeah. I've compromised too much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not, you don't keep score,
Yeah.
but it's mutual understanding. So,
Yeah.
because when we are calm enough to understand each other's perspective, then we can work things out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and along with those vows, and I want to make sure I get this right. So, they talked about in this study and another one recently. I can't remember where I read, but this is God's daughter, and I need to treat her as God's daughter. So recognizing that Lynn is loved by God, she is known completely by God. She was chosen by God, and she has been made holy because of what Christ paid for her. And so I remember those things about Lynn. I'm much more, apt to cut her some slack,
Yeah.
I value her so much more. There's another study we did not long ago called Cherish, and is that the one they talked about? What if marriage wasn't meant to teach us? What if marriage wasn't for us to be happy, which is what we saw in a lot of our friends.
Yes. Happily ever after.
I'm
That's
not
right.
happy, right? Yeah, I'm not happy anymore.
Yeah, Disney says happily ever after.
Yeah.
And we got to be careful with letting our daughters watch too much Disney.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's
a wholeness.
What if it was to
And a
make us
holiness.
But to
better?
be holy.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah. And when you understand that your spouse is chosen and loved by God, even in their, the things that are bothering you about them or whatever.
Yeah.
But so are you, right?
Yeah. That way we cut ourselves some slack.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great. What are you guys looking forward to in the future? It's a whole new season of life. You guys are grandparents.
Tomorrow.
This is a good time.
Yeah. I love every day. I look forward to tomorrow.
Yeah.
Empty nesting was hard at first. We didn't have to reinvent each other.
Yeah.
But more, okay, here we are without kids. We're not driving to track. We're not driving to swim anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
Did you have moments before? I mean, it's coming, right? You know that the empty nest is coming. Empty nest is coming. Did you, before that, kind of think in advance, like, hey, what if we built I mean, have we built something that when you remove the kids from the home, because so many years, right, raising kids, and it's a heavy focus. I mean, I think of the times you go on a date when you've got kids and you have to make these rules of like, hey, we're not going to talk about them. Let's talk about the kids for 10 minutes or whatever, and then we have to like choose not to, right? Not that kids aren't important, but they are not this centralness of your marriage.
They don't make your family.
They don't make your
We were a
Being
family
married.
before we had kids.
Getting married
that.
makes your family.
Yeah. So do you feel like in preparation, did you look at each other and go, oh, I'm really looking forward to this? Or did you go like, oh, man.
We had common conversations about that, not so overtly, hey, let's plan ahead when we don't have, but I think that was on our radar.
Yeah.
Because you can see it coming.
You can see it coming, yes.
And we watched some other friends who were just a few years ahead of us and what they did. And we just noticed that they kind of poured into serving together.
Find something to do together.
Yeah.
They didn't go their own ways, but they found something to do together.
But it is common to see those that, when you get out of the busyness of kids, which may have been keeping some of us from having good conversations with our spouse.
100%.
Gosh, when the kids are gone, then things kind of fall apart. And so we definitely did not want to go that route.
Yeah.
You like dating each other again?
Oh, yeah.
I think we are. We try to do fresh stuff.
That's good.
Yeah.
I love it. Any advice you'd give brand new newlywed couples out there?
There's a question in Reengage that says, if you could write a letter to your future self that you could have read early on, what would you say? And just simply, for me, it was, things are going to be okay. That would have been good to know.
Yeah.
If we're trusting God, things are going to be okay.
Yeah.
But that future letter would have been pretty cool, too.
A little heads up on these things.
For me, just to listen more than I speak. I need to listen. Truly listen to Gary and communicate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Clearly.
I love it.
And Jesus comes first, then our marriage, then our kids.
Yeah.
And then everything falls into place.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I'm excited. In just, it's almost July now. So in about a month or so, month and a half, we'll be kicking off another Reengage marriage study, 16 weeks again. You guys will be a part of that team, yeah?
We will be.
Help to lead more couples through the book. You guys will go through it for the third time.
And
even
we'll continue to learn stuff because we're not done
There's
learning
always
this stuff.
something to learn.
I love it. And so we just want to encourage you guys, links right there in this video and on this podcast for you guys to just jump on in, get to know maybe your leaders will be Gary and Lynn. You'll never know. But we just want marriages to grow. We want them to grow and lean in and have Christ at the center of them. And so thanks so much for joining me for good conversation.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys on Sunday. Have a good one. Bye.